newly released, heavily redacted CIA documents show the Bush administration's torture policies caused 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed to lie about where we could find Osama bin Laden. Our third story in the countdown, further evidence that not only were Gitmo detainees abused and tortured, but surprise, if you torture someone, they may lie to make you stop. The documents obtained by the ACLU came from the questioning of detainees by the U.S. military about their treatment at Gitmo. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was waterboarded, tortured 183 times. I make up stories, just location of Osama bin Laden. He spoke in obviously broken English. Where is he? I don't know. Then he tortured me. Then I said, yes, he's in this area. I said, no, they torture me. Contrast with this, President Bush nearly 3 years ago.
Once in our custody, KSM was questioned by the CIA using these procedures. And he soon provided information that helped us stop another planned attack on the United States.
There is more details of the questioning and torture of other detainees, including Abu Zubaydah, who was then thought to be al-Qaeda's number 3 man. He talked about months of suffering and torture, from which he says he is still not recovered. Then his torturers apologized, as if that would make it all go away, telling him, sorry, we discover you are not number 3, not a partner, not even a fighter. Jonathan Landay is the senior national security and intelligence correspondent for McClatchy Newspapers, and he joins us once again from Washington. Thank you again for your time tonight, sir.
My pleasure.
Setting aside what would be an increasingly moot debate about the usefulness of torture, for years the Bush administration got away with leaving this impression that we were at least vaguely aware of where Osama bin Laden probably was. Do we know if that assumption was predicated on Khalid Sheikh Mohammed lying in the way he described he's in this area?
I don't think so. Look, the Bush administration has a gleaming record of using bogus and exaggerated intelligence to make cases about al-Qaeda, about Iraq, but I don't think this is the case here. We know that OBL, that Osama bin Laden was at Tora Bora, where he had a major base on the border of Pakistan, and that while he left behind a rear guard, he fled across the border into the tribal areas of Pakistan. So I don't think in this case that they were relying on KSM's information.
The information that came out of people like this, and especially the simple descriptions of what these men would do when faced with torture, given all the revelations of erroneous information and bad leads from people we tortured, is there a point at which the CIA or the government as a whole might have to issue some sort of conclusion that indeed all information that was produced at Guantanamo should be assumed to be useless unless it has been independently verified?
Well, the Obama administration has said publicly that 50 to 100 people who are being held at Guantanamo can either be put on trial or can be let go. And it's safe to assume, I think, that some of those who can't be put on trial can't be put on trial because the information that was obtained in their cases was obtained by what a lot of people call torture. So I think that this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are calling, some people on the Hill and others are calling for the convening of some kind of truth commission, some kind of congressional investigation, official investigation by the Justice Department, special prosecutor, into exactly what was behind the use of these methods and what kind of information they produced.
Meantime, this story of Abu Zubaydah, this is almost the American version of Kafka. He not only told of plots that he knew nothing about, but he gave up trying to convince the people who were his captors that he was not who they thought he was. He just kept telling them stuff, and we just kept buying it.
Well, the fact is that you didn't just have President Bush talking about him as being the chief of operations of al-Qaeda. You had former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld talking about if he may not be the number 2, he's very close associate of Osama bin Laden. You had the former head of the CIA, General Michael Hayden, talking about how he had been the source of a great amount of information that the United States had on al-Qaeda, and then it turns out that, in fact, it appears that he was what he said he was, A, not a member of al-Qaeda, and B, just a guy who ran some safe houses in Pakistan from which he would guide people going into training camps in Afghanistan. He would facilitate their crossing the border. And when they came out, he would facilitate their travel to places like Chechnya and Bosnia.
Last point. At the end of the week, CIA is going to release the Inspector General's 2004 report, which questioned legality and effectiveness of coercive interrogations. Do we have any idea what we're going to find?
We do know one thing that the report concluded, and that's according to these declassified memos from the Justice Department that refer to a finding in this report that said that based on everything that the CIA IG had seen, there was no firm evidence that anything that was obtained using these aggressive, abusive interrogation techniques had produced evidence or information on an imminent plot threatening the United States. That much we know. But I think there will be other revelations, very, very important revelations, perhaps about the way the CIA IG viewed the entire legal justifications for the use of these aggressive, abusive techniques.
The mind reels. It's like one of those "what's wrong with these pictures," only it's reversed. It's what's right with this picture. Is there anything we can find in it that still is? Jonathan Landay of McClatchy Newspapers, as always, our great thanks.
My pleasure.